He said older men should only date younger women and called it natural. People didn't just disagree, they got angry. I have pulled together the top 20 questions. I left out all the death threats.
This is the first of many emails we received, Mr. Achebe, and they all circle the same concern. You keep referring to your ideas as the truth, presented as something absolute and universal. So help me understand. How do you separate truth from a personal belief that simply hasn't been challenged enough?
Well, the truth. The truth is something that you know. We all know the truth. The truth is obvious. I could ask a baby. All right, let's say I have a grandson. He's 3 years old. I ask him, if a bad guy robs a bank, what should happen to the bad guy? 3-year-old knows the answer. Bad guy arrested by cops, go to jail. Truth is universal. Everyone knows the truth. My information that I have put together in my book is absolutely true. You know it. I know you know it, but you just can't see it because it is, what did they say in America, politically incorrect. I understand that feeling. You don't want to hurt people's feelings. You don't want to put people down. You don't want to tell people they're doing what's wrong. But sometimes you have to do that. In the olden days, we told people, if you did something wrong, we told you. We didn't just let you go and live your life and do as you please. There are rules. There are proper ways to do things. Society is built on that, and that's what we must understand.
You said America is confused, and you frame that as a kind of decline or misunderstanding of basic roles. But what if what you're calling confusion is actually people questioning systems that used to go unchallenged? And if those systems are being questioned now, does that suggest they were solid or just never examined closely before?
Systems have always been questioned. There's always been naysayers. There has always been people that want to do what they want to do and don't want to follow along with the group or society. If everybody does what they want and one goes this, one goes that, one goes this, what do we have? We have anarchy. Like when you're in America, you have people who dress up in the all black masses, faces, clothes, and they come to protest. And they come there because they want to cause trouble. They want to cause anarchy. And that's what you get. That's why America has so many homeless living in the streets. There are people are living in the streets because they are drug addicts. They are sick in the head, mentally ill. Those people need to be in facilities, not living in the streets of America. The greatest country in the world cannot take care of its own people. I'm just pointing at one little thing in the society that needs to be addressed, that needs to be understood, because the family is the core of the societies that we live on. If we don't have families, if we don't have control, if there's no control, things fall apart. There was a great book written. I know you probably read it in college. It was a book that was required in all of our grade schools here in Nigeria. Things fall apart. You should look at that. Pick that up and look at it.
You frame your philosophy as natural, as if it's something fixed and universally understood. But when you use that word, what exactly are you measuring it against? And how do you make sure you're not just labeling something as natural because it happens to benefit you?
No, see, beautiful young lady, you don't understand. Not just benefiting me. It benefits you too, society, everybody. Every country needs to follow what is built up to society. We can't ignore it. I know a lot of people want to do what they want to do, and they want to do it how they want to do, and they want to do it with who they want to do, but things cannot be like that. Someone has to stand up. If no one stands up, then we all fall down. Don't you understand that? I'm standing up in my way. I'm a writer. I'm a educator. I'm a person who likes to point out the problem. Some people used to call me a naysayer because I would not go along with everything that was out there in the society. We take a lot of things in my country and we look at it and we think America is up on a pedestal, but America is falling down. Someone who's going to have to stand up and take the reins and bring the society back together, because America will not be here all the time to put people up or point a finger and say what is right and what is wrong. We must stand true. We must fight evil when we see it. We must tell the people, tell the youth, the wrong thing to do is to teach children these newfangled, idiotic ideas that don't make sense. We don't want our society to fall. All great societies eventually fall. That is true. America is on its way out because it will be destroyed from within. I try to put the word out. But you, beautiful young lady, look at you. You know what is true. I'm sure you do.
You dismissed the idea of control and instead described it as leadership and natural roles. But if one person is consistently leading and the other is expected to follow, how does that not function as control in practice?
You must understand, everybody can't be the leader. People have to work together. Someone has to take the reins and guide. Think about your own small family unit. You have probably come, I can tell from looking at you, you probably come from an intact family with a mother and a father. Your father probably was the primary leader. That's how it is. Being a leader doesn't mean you are abusive, doesn't mean you teach people bad, doesn't mean you do the wrong thing. You lead people in the right direction. That is what I am talking about.
And where do you draw the line between guidance, influence, and control when one side is clearly setting the direction?
If one side is doing the right thing and setting the right direction, we have no problem. That's why I put down in writing so that people can follow what is right. People have lost this sense in the mind. They have thinking that if it feels good, what's that saying? If it feels good, do it. That's not the way we should be living in this world. I live here in America. I have a home in America. I have a home in Nigeria. And when I go back home to Nigeria, I feel more relaxed. I feel more comfortable. I feel more natural because things are in the proper order in my household and mostly with all the people I associate with. Here in America, I work with a lot of academics and they want to always question what is wrong, what is right. Why do I feel this way? Am I part of the patriarchy? I don't understand America. It was built up. It gets so high, and then it lets people, deviants, try to take over. It is not right. It's not right. We all know it's not right.
You say younger women are choosing older men freely, and you present that as a clear, independent decision. But how do you account for the influence of money, stability, and power in shaping that choice? And when those factors are present, how do you separate genuine desire from strategic decision-making?
I'm glad you brought that up. Younger women always want to be taken care of. A woman needs to be taken care of. I need to have a strong man in the family to lead the family. That is the way it has been. That is the way it would always be. I don't understand when people say 2 mommies, 2 daddies, 3 mommies, 4 daddies. It is ridiculous. I have been learning so many things about polygamy here in America, and that is perversion of our religious teachings, where a man has 5 or 6 or 7 baby brides, 10, 12, 11. That is ridiculous. We need to focus in on things like that. That's what happens when you don't have standards. People make up their own rules. They make up what is right. And they teach the babies as they are born, you will be a servant to the man. You will follow the man's rule. You will do whatever perversion he comes up with. That is not what I am talking about. The perversion of the LADS, STDs, I don't know what you call it, but it's a religion very prominent in Utah. I visited him. I was on a fact-finding mission. I go around and I investigate. I don't just write. When I write about something, I know about it because I have personally investigated it. So, beautiful young lady, I understand you might have that weird thinking, but I know if I could speak to you off camera, you would understand. You do understand. I can look in your eyes and see that you understand.
If a woman's value decreases with age, as you've suggested, does a man's value decrease as well? Or does your system only apply that rule one way? Because both people are aging at the same time, yet your framework seems to measure them very differently. So, what standard are you using to justify that difference? And why should anyone accept it as universal rather than selective?
Well, when you talk about aging, yes, obviously man, woman, both age at the same time. I'm talking about a family, intact family, man, woman, have children. They both age, and that's the natural order of things. That's what I'm talking about. You're going off the deep end because that's what happens when you don't follow tradition. You try to think of every possible possibility that could happen. Yes, marriages do break up. It's a very rare thing where I come from. But here in America, it's very popular to get a new wife, to go for the younger woman after you have a wife and you have family and you have kids and you have responsibility. The man has a responsibility. The man has to take care of his family. The man has to stay with his family. And what you're talking about, the aging, is nonsense. Everybody ages. We all know that. When the man ages, the woman ages. I'm just saying that when they first get together, the woman is likely to be younger because the younger woman looks for protection, looks for stability. They need a high value man to take care of them and raise children. A lot of times the young man is not ready to raise children, and the young man should not have a family at the age where they cannot take care of them. That's why we have so much poverty here in America. The richest country in the world, you have people living well below the poverty line because they don't take education seriously. Education is the key to move up. They want to talk about don't do this and don't do that because you won't be accepted. They have to understand that you need to become educated, and it takes time to become educated. In my country, a man does not marry until he is much older and he's completed his education and he has some kind of financial system set up so that he can take a wife. And of course, he's going to take the young wife. And yes, if you want to get blatant about it, yes, the young wife is much more valuable. The young wife is much more sought after. The young wife is much more of a prized possession. So that's why the man goes for the younger woman. But you cannot say the nonsense that you're talking about now that you get from the academics in your high lofty towers who say, oh, the man's going to take the young woman and once she ages, he gets a younger wife. That is ridiculous. Of course, that could happen sometimes, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about all the perversions that could happen. I'm talking about the real situations that we need to keep our society moving forward. And you know that.
You mentioned fertility multiple times, and you presented it as a central part of your argument. But when you frame relationships around that idea, are you describing a connection between two people, or reducing women to a biological function? And where do you draw the line between acknowledging biology and overlooking everything else that makes a relationship meaningful?
Okay, now you're going again off the deep end. Academics, women's rights, what was that movement called? Feminism. We see where that has gotten you. So I understand that a woman, biology, physiology, that a woman is the one who brings the life. That's why the man and woman work together. It's not just a woman, it's not just a man. We need a partnership. So what your argument again is going off the deep end, is going down a road that I'm not really concerned about. There will be problems in marriage. There will be problems in relationships. Every relationship has a problem, and sometimes they cannot be resolved, and maybe there is divorce, maybe there is separation. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how man and woman work together to build a family, and then that family is part of society, and that's how society grows. Man and woman teach their children to become educated because education is the only way out of poverty. If you have a child when you're unwed and you have a child when you are uneducated and unemployable, then you will be poor. You are condemning that child to be poor. And that is what I want to avoid. I do not want to sit back and try to smile and nod and say, oh, that's okay. Everybody can do whatever they want to do. It is not right. And you know it's not right. I'm sure the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, I'm sure you were very educated and your parents made sure you were educated. And I'm not know about your personal life and relationships, but if you have a man I would probably think you, and if you don't have a man, I probably think you would go for a man who is more sophisticated and reliable and employed and financially fit to provide for you and your proposed children. And maybe we can talk a little bit after this video because, oh, excuse me, I have my window open. But maybe we can talk a little bit more about this video because you are the type of woman that I would be interested in. So I don't know. I'm unmarried at the time. I would be interested in talking more. That's why I'm back on your show, because I enjoy the conversation, the back and forth. I enjoy educated women like yourself.
You say this is about building strong families, and you present your model as something that leads to better outcomes. But what evidence are you basing that on? Are you pointing to data, lived experience, or just long-standing tradition? And how do you measure whether these relationships are actually healthier, more stable, or more fulfilling for everyone involved?
This is not an academic study. There's things in this world that are very simple. I know some people say things are not black and white, but they are. A man and woman work together to raise their family. That makes society grow. I base this on history. I see where we are. This is not though America is so advanced, America is not the only country where families have thrived. There's countries all over the world. Sometimes the American thinks they are the only ones everywhere. They think they are the only situation. They think they should set the rules for everyone. But America is becoming perverted. America is on the decline. I hope that America can catch their footing. That's why my book is doing so good here in America, because I am one of the few that speak out and say what needs to be said. You keep going off with these weird academic, weird perverted ideas that don't pertain to my book, do not pertain to what I am saying, and you want to try to throw a monkey wrench and destroy the family and society. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why you go for these weird families, these weird configurations of families. It's only making problems in your country. And I hope in some part that my book can guide people on the right path. Everyone is not going to follow me. Of course not. I don't expect that. I expect to be followed by the core people who will help to preserve society. I love America. I have dual citizenship, and I think this country is worth saving. So that's why I wrote my book. That is the reason I wrote my book.
If your model is as universal as you present it, something that applies across cultures and situations, why do you think there's such strong pushback, especially from women hearing it directly? Because it's not just disagreement, it's a reaction that feels personal and immediate. So how do you interpret that response? Is it misunderstanding, resistance, or something in your model that doesn't fully account for their experience?
Okay, I hoped that I would not get a question like this that put me in a position to have to be forced to tell the bold, cold truth. A lot of the women who do fight against my system and my book and my ideas and my thinking and teaching are not married, unattractive, overweight, homely, as they used to say. And their time has passed. Everyone cannot be married. Every man cannot be married, and every woman cannot be married. Sometimes you have to face the truth, and it's hard to see that. People are lonely, people are bitter, people are jealous, and they don't want to face the facts. You can't get everything in this world that you expect. Sometimes people fall short of things they want. They try hard, or they may be born with some type of a birth defect or something that makes them unattractive or unappealing to men. Then they want to bring the whole society down to their level and really try to build up other people. They try to destroy the whole society, and that's the people who are against my ideas, who are against my book, who are against my teachings. So I feel sorry for them. I can't help everyone. Everyone will not be married. Every woman will not have a man. And so that is the hard case, the hard fact. Every man will not have a woman. That is the hard case, the hard fact. But if we work together and we become the society that we should be, then we will survive. We will prosper. But you can't ignore the truth. And just because everyone cannot participate does not mean the truth is not the truth.
You describe modern men as soft, and you frame that as a decline from what men are supposed to be. But is it possible that what you're seeing isn't weakness, but a different set of choices about how they want to live and relate to women? And if they're choosing not to operate under the same rules you believe in, does that make them less masculine? Or just different from your model?
Again, you're asking questions that you already know the answer to. I can see in your eyes, I can hear in your voice that you know where society should go and you know what right is from wrong. And I understand. I'd come back on your show because I like speaking with you. I like talking to you. And again, like I said, I would like us to meet offline if possible. But to get to that point, yes, society has rules. Society has standards. And when people break those standards, society falls down. That's what I want to avoid. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I'm here today to continue to speak out. I will even be speaking out on my own. Based on my last performance, I had people reaching out to me and wanting to interview me like you. The people want me to come and write columns for their newspaper. People want me to come and do videos, weekly videos to teach. There are many people out there who want this message, that know the societies need this message, and there's not many people like me who are brave enough to stand up and say right is right, wrong is wrong, and if you don't want to participate, then step aside. Either follow or get out of the way. Don't try to bring everybody down with you. That is ridiculous. Instead of living your own life. And if you are not in the system, there are men, yes, weak men. I can say that. Yes, I said it. I said it. There are weak men. There are weak men who do not need to get married. A weak man cannot lead a family. A weak man cannot satisfy a woman. A weak man will turn to another man. And those are the things we want to avoid. Let me see, my camera seems to be making some error. Maybe I bumped it. Let's get the focus. There we go. Seems to be in focus now. Sorry about that. But sometimes when you bring up topics that really get me going, I start to get upset. And I'm not upset with you. Again, I like you. You are my type of woman. Much younger? Yes. We will definitely exchange them. How they say, exchange the emails. Call me. But I understand your point, but I have to set you straight. I have to set you straight.
You talk about leadership as a central part of your philosophy, and you frame it as something men are naturally meant to take on. But when that leadership doesn't work, when decisions fail or harm the relationship, what does accountability actually look like in your model? And who holds that leader responsible if the system is built around him setting the direction?
Good point. That is true. Sometimes the man who leads the family will make errors. He will fall. He will fail. But he must get up again. No matter how many times you fall, you must get up and keep trying. And again, you glossed over part of my book, I think it's chapter 5 or 6, where I said a man and a woman are a team. Woman has beautiful value and ideas. And the man needs those ideas to sometimes drive him forward and push him forward and support his ideas. And if things go wrong, sometimes the woman will step in and help. They will work together as a team. I have a brother who is married to a wonderful woman, and they work together as a team. They have a chain of restaurants here in Nigeria, and they do very well. They work together as a team. He is obviously the lead, but the woman is there to support the team and work together. And it's a beautiful relationship. They have become very wealthy, and it's because they work as a team. I'm not saying that man has to do it all alone and don't take any opinion or advice from his wife. That's why he chose a wife who is probably beautiful and educated and smart and value her opinion. Those are interpersonal relationships between couples are very important. I mentioned that in my book. I hope you read that section. So, again, I'm not saying the man is a slave driver with a whip and everything he says must go right, because it will not. That is life. Life has ups and downs. Every decision could go wrong, could go right, could go wrong. That is life. And work together with your wife, and you build your family, and you train your kids the right way, and make sure they become educated. Because again, I want everyone to know education in this modern world in which we live is the way to power. That is the way.
You say a man may step out and still return to his wife, and you present that as something that doesn't disrupt the structure of the family. But how does that align with the values of respect and stability you say you're promoting? And if those values are central, why would behavior like that be considered acceptable within the system?
Well, that's a good topic too. I touch on that in my book. Sometimes men go out and find a little woman on the side, and that doesn't mean he destroys his family. That doesn't mean he disvalues his wife. He may just want to have a little activity outside of the marriage. And as long as he knows where his priorities are, I don't see a problem with that. A lot of times people make a big deal about that, but that is how society works. A man desires multiple women. Women do not desire multiple men. So if that happens and the unfortunate situation arises where the wife knows about it, if the man gets sloppy and doesn't do the things the right way, the wife may find out. But that does not destroy their relationship. They have kids, they have families, they built a life together. One little night with a little woman on the side does not hurt the family. It strengthens the family, because the truth is your wife does not want all this sexual drive, I keep this clean, that the man may have. The man has multiple needs and desires, and one woman cannot do it all. There's no such thing as a woman who can do it all. So a man sometimes may have to go outside the family, but that does not mean he is not still the provider and responsible for his family, and he will keep his family and love his family. So that is all I'm going to say about that.
If your system works as well as you say it does, why does it seem to require so much explanation and constant defense? Because ideas that are truly self-evident tend to stand on their own without needing to be reinforced over and over. So what do you think it is about your model that keeps putting you in a position where you have to keep proving it?
The only reason I am in this interview, and I'm in other interviews, the reason you come after me and ask for an interview is because the truth is difficult. The truth is hard to accept. People want to do whatever they want to do. They want to live their life willy-nilly and go here and go there and sleep with this man and sleep with this woman, and this woman sleep with this woman, and this man sleep with this woman, and this man sleep with the little kids. They want to do all the weird, bad stuff. And when someone presents them with the truth, the way the world should be, it is difficult to accept. They don't want rules. Life is much easier. Look here in America, where you have thousands and thousands of people living in the streets, mentally ill, drug addicts, dope addicts, living in the streets, junkies, bums, because they don't want to follow the rules of society. They don't want to work. They don't want to study. They don't want to learn. They'd rather take drugs and sleep in their own feces on the street in a tent. That is where America is heading. This is just, my book is just a hint of the head that would show America the problems. Open their eyes so they can see the causes of all their lax policies. And you live your life, I live my life. Do what you want. If it feels good, do it. That is the cause of the downfall. And again, like I said, I love America. I do citizenship. I don't want to stop coming. There are many beautiful things here in America, but it's slowly, inch by inch, bit by bit, being destroyed because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You don't want to tell them the truth. You don't want to set people up straight. If someone is mentally ill, they need to be in a hospital getting help, not living in a tent on the street. If someone's a drug addict, they need to go somewhere and try to get cleaned up, and maybe they can turn their life around. They don't want to just look the other way. That's what America is doing. Look the other way. My topics. That's what they have done for years. And that's what they want to keep doing. Look the other way. But that's not how the world should work. Truth, again. I know it sounds redundant, but truth is the truth, and we must face it.
You've positioned disagreement as a kind of misunderstanding, as if people just aren't seeing your point clearly. But what if they do understand you and still reject the premise? And if that's the case, does it suggest a communication gap or a fundamental issue with the idea itself?
No, there's no problem with the idea. Everyone's not going to accept it. Everyone's not going to live the way they should. That's why we have a free society. People can fall and fail and drag their kids down with them. That is the freedom that we have. And we want that freedom because that freedom is a two-sided coin. But I want to make the facts known. I want to bring the light and shine it down because these are concepts that have fallen by the wayside. And I don't think that should be possible. I don't think that should be the norm where people do whatever they want to do. They make up their own rules. They make up their own laws. They think they should be free to do whatever they want. That's why, again, I bring up the situation of the dope addicts, junkies, and bums living in the streets of America. The richest, biggest country in the world, and it's like a sewer in many cities because people want to let the men and women do whatever they want to do. And that is not right. You're hurting people. You're hurting people. You must have standards. Standards. That's what I'm saying. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
You often compare cultures, pointing to certain traditions as examples of what should be preserved or returned to. But how do you decide which traditions are worth holding on to and which ones should evolve with time? And what criteria are you using to determine whether a tradition still serves people or simply benefits those already in power?
You can look at, again, society and see where traditions are thrown away, where they say 2 men's good enough for children, 2 women's good enough for children, any type of family, 3 men, 3 women, let children make the decisions. It's all idiotic. You know that. You know that. And the people basically all know that. But again, they want their freedom. They want to do whatever they want to do and have no one point a finger. I cannot force my beliefs. I can just explain them and make them known so that I can sleep at night and say, I did not give up. I want to tell the truth. I will speak out no matter what the ramifications. So that is my ideas. I put them in writing so I can't get away from them. And if you don't like them, then I can't force them on you. But I can do is make them known. And that's what I do. That's what I do.
If a younger woman gains experience, independence, and confidence over time, does she still fit your model?
Yes. I love smart, strong women. They make good team members. Like you said earlier in the video, if sometimes the man's ideas fall, the man's ideas fail, which is possible, it always, again, nothing is guaranteed. And if you have a strong, smart woman by you, your partner, she can help you through situations. I'm a strong believer in man-woman partnership. So get that together and work. Understand my book. Look at it more closely. Don't just read the cliff notes. You need to understand there is principles. There are foundational principles that I speak of. And that's what makes it work. That's what makes it valuable.
After hearing the feedback from women who felt reduced, dismissed, or overlooked by your ideas, what part of your philosophy, if any, are you willing to re-examine?
I can't re-examine the truth. All I can do is make it available. What's that old saying? You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I can bring the truth to light. Show it to the people. Make it available. Put it in writing so they can read it and share it. That's all I can do. And I will keep doing that all my days. Even before I started writing, I espoused these ideas. I made them known. I've been a long-time teacher. colleges, universities, and I would talk about these topics in class. Get some pushback, but I refined my topics and my approach, and now I share it with the world. I do not feel shy at all. I do not regret any words that I have written in that book, and I stand by the truth. The truth, as they say in the Bible, the truth will set you free. That is what I am doing with my knowledge and my teaching. I'm setting you free from the madcap world where people do whatever they want. That is not how we should live. That is not how a society will grow.
And that's where we'll leave it, for now. Because we received so many emails, Mr. Achebe, and they all circle the same concern. You keep referring to your ideas as the truth, presented as something absolute and universal. So the question isn't going away. How do you separate truth from a personal belief that simply hasn't been challenged enough? We've only scratched the surface of what people had to say. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to sit with this, let the conversation breathe, and let more of those responses come in. And in about a month, we'll bring you back. Same chair, same questions, but a lot less room to move around them. Because if the ideas are solid, they'll still be standing. And if they're not, we'll see that too. I'll see you next time.